Hey guys, it's Ash from Being SWENGLISH, and if there's one thing that all Swedes own, almost every single Swede at least, it's a bike. And so I thought, it's time to buy one. So bikes are great. They're an easy way to get around. They're relatively well priced. They don't cost as much to keep and maintain and buy as a car would. They're also very cheap to run. I mean, it's just all about your legs, those knobbly knees down there. They're easy to park. Every single place in Sweden has bike stands and places to lock them up securely. Wearing a helmet here is not mandatory, I think, if you're over 16, so you should wear one, or at least a neck thing that fires over your head and blows up an airbag if you do have a crash. They're also very, very well supported in Sweden. So unlike other countries like the UK, where you're lucky to find a cycle path, or you're on a cycle path and then it finishes, there are cycle paths absolutely everywhere here. And so it just seemed like an obvious no-brainer to buy a bike. And I chose the Trek Allant Plus 5. So when you're looking to buy a bike, you have to decide on a few different things. And there's fully electric, non-electric, hybrid, road, racer, mountain bikes. There's so much choice out there. My specific requirements were that I wanted a bike that I could cycle on the road, take off-road if I wanted to, hook a bike wagon onto it so I can put my little boy in the back of it, maybe put a bike seat on there as well. I wanted something with really good support, really good maintenance and aftercare, after-sales warranty and good service from the manufacturer. And so I looked around. There are lots of Swedish-born manufacturers like Crescent, which are really well respected, but I just wanted something a bit different, and the bike that matched my criteria was the Allant Plus 5 from Trek. Now, it was a bit confusing at first because the model number's Allant Plus 5, then there's the 7 and the 9, and I thought, well, the 5 is an old model then because there's a 9, but it doesn't quite work like that. Instead, they're all different versions of the Allant range, with the 9 being the top and the most expensive, and the Allant 5 being the kind of mid-level in the range. They price at around 36,000 krona Swedish, which is about £3,000. It's a lot of money for a bike, it really is. But if you want to buy something that's going to last and something that's going to give you a lot of fun and pleasure and save a load of money on getting around and transport, then it seems worthwhile. So this is not going to be a thoroughly technical review, but basically a look at this bike from the perspective of somebody like me, who doesn't really know a lot about bikes, but has done some research, asked around the market in order to buy one that's a really good fit. The bike, what I really like about it is it's lightweight. Even though it's an electric bike and you've got this big, heavy battery attached to the front of it, 500 watt-hour battery, it's still lightweight. And the benefit of that means that if you turn off all the electrics, you can still cycle it without it feeling like you're cycling along with a brick attached to you. The other nice aspect is it's got nice fenders on the front and back, so if you are cycling, you're not going to get sprayed with mud and water or even snow in Sweden. And also the tyres as well are nice tyres. They're not specifically road or specifically off-road, they're somewhere a little bit in between. So again, another big benefit. The bike also has lights at the front and the rear that are integrated into the battery, so you don't have to do any of that manually. That's a massive time saver. Also, you can see on the back it's got a nice rack to which you can attach lots of different things like a basket or a bag or even a baby seat or a car seat type style thing. And it's also got what I really like, suspension on the front, which means that I can take the bike off-road if I want to, but you can also lock the suspension so that it doesn't move up and down if you're using it on the roads. Saddle is not the most comfortable saddle, but if you've not cycled on a bike for years, then no saddle will be comfortable. Then it's got the lovely Bosch power system, and that's got a really, really good reputation. And connected to that, you've got your little control thing here where you select which sports mode or turbo mode you want to be in. It's even got a really nice walking assist mode, which is lovely. So if you are walking with the bike, it will actually drive itself to avoid you having to make any effort at all. It's got disc brakes front and back as well, which is lovely, and it's got a 9-gear shifter here, only on one side. Gone are the days of the 21 gears. You really don't need it, and it's much, much simpler in terms of the mechanism in the gearing system itself. It's the cycling experience. I've got it turned on to turbo at the moment and I'm on this beautiful pier jetty thing and I'm just pedaling gently. There's no accelerator on these type of bikes. It's kind of a pedal assist. So as you're pedaling, I can feel the motor kicking in. If I really go for it, whoa! It's incredible. It needs an auto gear shifter. That's the only thing missing. Different assist modes. At the moment I'm on off. But if I turn it onto Eco, it'll give a range approximation. There you go, 84 kilometers. If I turn it onto Tour mode, we've got an approximation of 55. Then you've got Sport and Turbo of course is going to be less at 41 range. So in terms of range, put it on Eco and you've got on a full charge at least around 100 kilometers, which is great. Cycling along, you can feel the suspension doing a really, really good job, and it just takes the frustration out of those minor bumps and imperfections on the road. But also from a safety perspective, if you do hit a big pothole, it's nice to have that suspension so that the impact isn't going to damage your wheel or damage your face if you end up, coming off the bike, which you might do without suspension. So suspension for me was a necessity, but it might not be for you if you're just driving on roads and if those roads are decent. Now I do think that many of us, when we buy an electric bike, feel the necessity to use the electric and have it enabled. But if you've got a bike like this that's lightweight, then turning the electrics off, as I'm going to do now, actually doesn't introduce that much additional effort. Now, okay, I'm just coming up to a hill, so a little bit more work, but it's a good feeling. So far we've just been going on a relatively easy, flat path, but now you can see we've got the forest here. And this is where you really get to test the suspension on this bike. And roads like this is exactly why I bought a bike with suspension, so that I could take it up places like this and cycle with not having to worry about buckling a decent road tyre. But also it's nice having that electric support because we are going uphill and it's pretty steep. Bike really is handling it very easily and I'm enjoying this. Feels like freedom. I've missed this a lot. Because of the electrics, the automation actually only helps you in Sweden up to 25 kilometers an hour because that's the speed limit for this class of what they call a vehicle. Any faster than that, you'd actually need a license plate, insurance, driving license. And that obviously gets complicated now. I do know that you can get chips for these bikes which unlock that extra power. Do be very careful if you do that, because if you do have an accident or there's an incident and they find that you've chipped the vehicle, the bike, then you may get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. Also for a warranty claim, if you've messed around with the electronics in the bike or in the Bosch motor, you're not going to get covered if you have a problem. Basically the way it works is when you hit that 25 kilometers per hour limit, you can still cycle faster, you can keep going, but this little motor here is going to keep you running and help you relieve some of that weight of the bike itself, and it really, really does help. I'd like to go a bit faster, but for now 25 kilometers an hour is enough. We all know what I think about that sign. For road cycling at speed, hopefully you can hear me through the wind. It's smooth and it's good fun and it's just a great feeling of freedom. Again, the suspension handles the bumps when there are bumps, but up hills like this, the electric is a real welcome benefit. And finally the open road, doing 30 kilometers an hour at the moment, and it's just so smooth. I've locked the suspension, which of course makes the riding more efficient because you don't want the movement of the suspension whilst you're on a flat road. As always with any bike, it's important to get your seat adjusted right so that you're not wasting energy, and also so it's comfortable. The saddle on this bike is not very comfortable, but I have a bony bum, so maybe I just need to eat some more pie or fish and chips. Now now at 45 kilometers an hour, and it feels like when you're in a car that's only got 5 gears and you really want a 6th or a 7th gear. It feels like it needs some higher gears. But the times you'll be doing 45 kilometers an hour I think will be quite slim. So I'm quite happy with it for now, but if I start pedaling now at 45 kilometers an hour, my legs are going quite fast. So it does feel like I need another gear shift. This only has 9 gears, but it's not really designed to be a racer or a speeder. It's just designed to get you from A to B, and right now it's doing that very well. Another nice test for suspension coming up. Here it is, a rather bumpy road. See the suspension working. And a really smooth ride for me. Yeah, I have image stabilisation on this camera video, but still it's not crazy bumpy considering how bad the road is. So far in the week of owning this bike, there's only one complaint I have, but I think this is more my fault than the bike's. When I'm pedaling, my toes sometimes touch the floor. Now I put that down to my feet being quite big. I'm a size 46. Also when cornering, be really careful, don't pedal while you're cornering steeply, because if you do, then again your feet will touch the floor. Again, I think it's because I've got big feet. I don't really know. Comment below if you do know. And after that short cycle ride, my reward is that view. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Whew. Island in the distance, by the way, is a beautiful little island, ironically that people call the cycle island, called Ven, and it's in between Sweden and Denmark, just off the coast of Helsingør and Helsingborg, and it's a beautiful little island. So overall, I'm not a bike expert, as I said, and how I prefaced this video, but so far I'm loving this bike. They're not cheap, but you're going to have them for many, many, many years, and it's going to save you a lot of money as well, because you can take it places where you can never take a car. The only thing I recommend is getting a good lock like that one there, because bike theft, unfortunately in Sweden, is very high. I would imagine it is elsewhere in the world as well. So protect that bike. Also call your home insurance company, make sure it's covered when you're out and about, or even when if it's stolen from the house itself, because goods over a certain value often aren't covered by an insurance company unless you explicitly declare them. But overall, I'm pleased with my Allant Plus 5, really happy and excited to do lots of cycling on it this year, or at least what's left of this year. I hope this is useful, guys. If you're into your bikes, comment below with what you think about this bike and any bike that you own. Give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you just can't be bothered, and hit subscribe. Cheers, guys.